But in the initial stages of Samadhi Sthiti, you definitely do experience the sound, the rhythm, and the beauty of it. These are only the initial stages of Samadhi Sthiti. When a person meditates, what happens is, mind slowly goes into a state of relaxation. When a mind perfectly goes into a state of relaxation, it tries to align itself and it becomes free. And it tries to align itself to the infinite existence I am within you. As the alignment starts happening with the subconscious, with your Atma, you tend to see or you tend to feel certain different experiences. The first stage of experience begins when the mind tends, the beginning stages of freedom appears to the mind, and the mind tends to align with the universe called Atma. The first atom, it tends to align. The moment it tends to align, the first step as a protective mechanism, as a protective mechanism of the mind, experience comes. They say, for example, कोई चोट लगी तो we have something called inflammation. What is inflammation according to medical definition also? Inflammation is the protective mechanism. It's a self-repair mechanism of the bone body. In simple language. है ना? वैसे ही जब माइंड फ्री होता है, ध्यान में फ्री होने लग जाता है, शुरू हो जाता है, तो उसकी जो वायरस सिस्टम है, उसकी जो रंग रूप रस, जो गंध, जो पंच भौतिक, जो एक्सपीरियंशियल क्वालिटी ऑफ द माइंड है, that which recognize, the recognizing ability recognizes the first shape, the first color, the first form, and gives it an experience. The moment the experience comes, the mind's potential again gets activated and falls in love with the experience. The moment it falls in love with the experience, it flows with the experience, and as it flows through the experience, it loses its ability to get free because it is again bonded to the experience. Now again, the protection is worked, the mind is not united with the infinite self. And that is how you have experience, but you still stay where you are in. The mind gives you a jeopardy that you are moving ahead, but you are still where you are. That is the reason why, if you see in our Puranas, we feel, we hear that Lord Shiva gave a darshan and he immediately gave a blessing. The moment Lord Shiva gives only darshan when the sadhak has completed the sadhana. So Lord Shiva gives a darshan. He gives a darshan and he immediately gives you the blessing that you want. That is what we hear in Puranas. Now here in meditation, the moment we see Lord Shiva, we see some divine form, we open our eyes, what exactly happens? Nothing really big happens. Because the darshan that they mentioned is different and the darshan that we have is absolutely different. That is the reason why the results do not match. The darshan we have is the mind's analog. The mind says, oh, this guy is doing sadhana and this guy feels that he has to find Shiva. Okay, let me create a form and shape and form so that I put him into a falsified notion that he had the darshan, and then this mind automatically, it works as a autoimmune disorder. In an autoimmune disorder, the body kills its own self. There is no bacteria, virus that kills. In the same fashion, in the huge space of mind, this autoimmune disorder of self-destructive ability does exist. And that is the reason why we have this suicidal tendency also. So in sadhana, the biggest thing that really happens is the suicide of sadhana. Every time a sadhak tries to rise ahead, the mind suicides the sadhak within him, kills the sadhak within him, and then the sadhak falls down, the experience gets awakened, and the want for it gets awakened. What am I trying to tell you is, in a perfect state of absolute background alert awareness, background consciousness, at that state, you are very well will start doing the healing required. The very ichcha, I want this. It is not want, ichcha. Ichcha is divine. Want is devilish. But people have, when a sadhak is meditating, I request every sadhak to analyze, does he have wants or does he have ichcha? Will, does he have will or does he have desire? Desire is devilish. Will is divine. Now, what do you have in your life more? What is the will percentage in your life? What is the desire percentage in your life? That alone qualifies you to be sadhak. Not how many workshops, not how many gurujis, not how many mantras. You may never learn Mahashodashi mantra, it's okay. Even if you learn a smallest, actually only to the mind there exists a smallest and to the biggest mantra. Mantra itself is the smallest. Because Mannat Trayate iti mantraha, they say, that which controls, regulates the mind is called the mantra. But where from this mantra comes or arises, or where does this mantra arise? If you see, in the absolute, from the Sanatana Dharma, the Vedic, there was nobody who gave mantras. The Maharshis, when they absolutely went into their silent, serene, static stillness, the mantra sprang up, because mantra is a sound bija, and in an absolute static stillness, the Akasha Mahabhuta, space, absolute nothing exists. There exists the Adinada, the Nada bija, the Nada Bindu Kala. That when it arises, restores, reconstitutes or destroys the life. So, where from the life started, or where from the life is being managed, or where from the life is being destroyed, is from the eternal silence. Am I clear with you? So, once the eternal silence is the state of being that you have, from that eternal silence this mantra has come. Now, who doesn't have the state of eternal silence? Whoever has Atma has the state of eternal silence. Yes or no? Because the very state of Atma is eternal silence. The very state of you is beyond this eternal silence. That is the reason why they say Atma, Jivatma and the Paramatma. Paramatma is beyond this eternal state of silence, nothingness, existence and even beingness. As long as the Atma and the Jivatma evolutes into the soul, then it exists in a state of being. Now, the truth is, whether we realize this or we do not realize that, you may have Desha Bhakti, they say, love for the country, or you don't have. You may think that you are an Indian or you are not an Indian. If at all you are born on this very land, you are an Indian. Yes or no? You might think you belong to Haryana. You might think you belong to Punjab, you might think you belong to whatever state, but technically you are only an Indian. Because at the geographic level, Haryana doesn't exist, India exists. Technically as a nationality feeling, or at the world stage. If I'm talking from the world level, globe level, then Haryana technically is not a nationality. India is alone a nationality. Yes or no? In the same fashion, whether you may think that I am so and so engineer, so and so person, but at the actual level that we talk, there is no engineer or there is no so and so surname. There is only Atma. So you know, you don't know, you exist at that state. Do you accept? Though you don't realize, you might be a common man, you might be a laborer, you might be an absolute layman, or you might be a great siddha. Whatever you are, you exist at that state. That being said, that mantra has actually arisen from you. You are the originator of that absolute eternal sound. With that being said, the more importance you give to the mantra, the less importance you give to its originator. The originator is you, the means or the instrument is the mantra, but the focus is going to the mantra than to the originator, then the cooperation of the originator decreases. Naturally, though he wants to cooperate, because the cooperation can only be gained when we are aligned to it. मैं आपके तरफ देखता हूँ तो ही आप मुझे दिखते हैं, मैं इस तरफ देखता हूँ तो आपको मैं देख ही नहीं सकता टेक्निकली अकॉर्डिंग टू द साइंस. Yes or no? In the same fashion, until otherwise I try and align myself, I will not be able to actually extract the benefit. That is the reason why believing on the external force to try and regulate the mind, I give more concentration on the external force without carrying this internal force. Any amount of repetition of this external force is useless. But with an indwelling internal force orientation, you do any small external orientation, the result would be magnificent. But what happens in mantra sadhana is, the indwelling force the sadhak does not recognize at all. He respects the mantra more than the Ananta Atma Shakti. And he repeats the mantra and say, I have repeated the mantra and so I have this much power. Technically this is pure Dvaita, if you see. Pure Dvaita. Why? You are seeing the duality between the object or the instrument and its originator. Definitely. Then you are seeing the difference between the object and its goal. And you are also seeing the difference between the goal and its originator. Whereas the triangular activity is the I exist, or the crux of this triangle exists in its own geometrical center.